Let's begin by telling you that the American International School of Abuja has asked the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to provide authentic banking details for the refund of fees paid for the children of Yahaya Bello, immediate past governor of Kogi State. Bello allegedly paid $760,000 in advance as fees for 5 of his children from the coffers of the Kogi State government. The children are in grade levels 2 to 8 at the school. On April 17th, EFCC operatives laid siege on Bello's residence in Abuja in an attempt to arrest him over alleged 80.2 billion naira fraud. In a letter addressed to the Lagos Zonal Commander of the EFCC, the school said a sum of $845,852 has been paid in tuition since the 17th of September 2021 to date. An ongoing building has collapsed in Gwale local government area of Kano State. The total number of victims has not been ascertained, but eyewitnesses said at least 11 persons might have been trapped under the rubble. It was gathered that 2 of the victims have been rescued and rushed to the hospital by officials of the Federal Road Safety Corps, who are still carrying out rescue operation at the scene of the collapse. However, the painstaking excavation efforts continue unabated, with responders laboring tirelessly to locate and rescue any remaining trapped individuals. The exact cause of the tragic collapse remains shrouded in mystery, prompting local authorities to initiate a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the incident. The federal government has announced the commencement of demolition of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road project. And this is according to the Federal Controller of Works in Lagos State, Korede Keisha. Keisha revealed that notices have been issued to residents residing within the designated right-of-way, urging them to take necessary actions ahead of the demolition process. This ambitious project aims to connect Lagos to Cross River, spanning a distance of 700 kilometers and crossing through several states. With an estimated cost of 15 trillion naira, the road is poised to transform transportation infrastructure in the region. The first phase of demolition, targeting properties within the initial 3 kilometers, is set to commence this Saturday. Inclusive governance, education, and awareness campaigns in communities in Nigeria's northeast will help promote sustainable peace in the region. And this was a consensus position during a validation workshop of the Center for Peace, Diplomatic and Development Studies, University of Maiduguri, on assessment of social cohesion for peaceful coexistence among communities in northeast Nigeria. Our correspondent, Umaru Kirawa, tells us more.
With the echoes of the over a decade-long Boko Haram conflict in Nigeria's northeast gradually fading away, communities are now picking up the pieces of their lives after the traumatic experience. Center for Peace, Diplomatic and Development Studies of the University of Maiduguri engaged stakeholders on social cohesion in the northeast to discuss the problems and identify solutions. They emphasized that inclusive governance structures can help address the underlying causes of conflict, promote equal representation, and provide a platform for dialogue and collaboration among communities.
Our participation in such a program will go a long way in building and sustaining peace.
We are here to validate what has been happening in our community. That is to tell you, without peaceful coexistence, I believe each and every one of us here know it very well, things will not go well in our society.
But I think we must salute our security services for their continuous determination to ensure that law and order is restored.
During the validation workshop, participants emphasized the need to educate communities about the importance of peaceful coexistence, conflict prevention, and resolution. The experts highlighted the importance of targeting these campaigns towards diverse groups, including women, youth, and religious leaders.
The mandate of community service is what the university is trying to achieve through these kind of programs. And right from the beginning of the insurgency, the university has been thinking on how to come in to help the country on how to solve this problem.
We believe in peace building. If we can achieve a stronger social cohesion, we could go a long way in achieving peace.
Education and awareness campaigns are seen as essential tools to change mindset, to promote a culture of tolerance, dialogue, and understanding. By addressing the root causes of conflict and promoting peaceful means of resolving disputes, these campaigns aim to create an environment conducive to sustainable peace. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The Kebbi Area Command of Nigeria Customs Service has handed over 6,240 pieces of cap-sensitive dynamite explosives intercepted along the Yaro-Jega Road in 2022 to the Department of State Services. They were being taken to an unknown destination. The Kebbi Area Controller of Customs, Ianacho Ojike, said the dynamites were intercepted by the Joint Border Patrol Team of Customs, Army, Police, Immigration, and the DSS while on intelligence-based patrol. Ianacho said a joint examination was conducted in the presence of relevant units of the Customs, Police, and suspected items were found to contain 40 cartons and sacks totaling 6,240 pieces of cap-sensitive dynamite explosives. The controller said the handing over of the items to the DSS by the Customs was done in the spirit of interagency collaboration and for continued investigation. The stage is set for the two former deputies of late Ondo State Governor Rotimi Akeredolu to slug it out in the November 16 governorship election. This follows the conclusion of the primary election of both APC and the PDP, with Agboola Ajayi, the former deputy governor to late Governor Akeredolu, emerging as the flag bearer of the party, as well as Lucky Ayedatiwa, the incumbent governor of Ondo State, also a former deputy to late Governor Akeredolu, emerging as the candidate of the ruling party in the state. Recall that Agboola dumped the APC in 2020 following impeachment moves against him. Earlier, political analyst Henry Olonimoyo was on the news to talk about this.
Yes, thank you very much. It appears that the November government elections going to be a very exciting one, because it appears there's going to be a straight battle between the former deputies of Ondo State in Agboola Ajayi and the sitting governor Ayedatiwa. And it comes to be a very exciting one, because Agboola Ajayi is a grassroots politician, one that knows his onions well, and also from the same central district as the sitting governor. And so it's going to be a very tough one. Again, it appears that where the winner will emerge will be how well they are able to do outside of their central district. I'm talking of the central as well as the north. And so a lot of it lands on who and who will be in their political camps. Take, for instance, Agboola Ajayi, who will be his running mate? What central district will the person be from? All of these things will also weigh heavily on who eventually carries the day.
You're live with News Central TV. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. Sight Savers, an international non-governmental organization, has donated $36.5 million to Nigeria and other 15 countries to help eliminate trachoma, a bacterial eye infection that can cause blindness. The country director for Sight Savers, Dr. Joy Shuaibu, made this known in a statement on Thursday in Abuja. Shuaibu explained that trachoma, a neglected tropical disease, causes severe pain and impairs daily activities like earning a living and caring for families. This funding under the Accelerate program aimed at eradicating trachoma by 2027 will support select African countries in their efforts to fight the disease, including Nigeria. The Accelerate program, funded by international donors like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, has previously helped the Republic of Benin eliminate trachoma in 2023. And to unpack this, I'm joined by a consulting optometrist, Vision Caregivers International, Dr. Tros Evariba. Good evening, glad to have you join me.
Good evening.
All All right, let me start by asking, what's the prevalence of trachoma in Nigeria and how has it affected public health?
Okay, trachoma, there are two areas that it's spotted for its prevalence or its effect, which we call trichiasis, where lead is impacted, comes over. We have about 0.6%, about 17.6% prevalence. And for the active trachoma itself, we have about 5 to about 45% active, that's the prevalence in Nigeria. Its effect is quite devastating in terms of the individual who's going through the experience, because we know that for every person who is affected, I mean, when it comes to blindness, it goes a long way to affect everybody in their household. Like I usually say, when one person goes blind, 3 people are affected in that instant. The person who goes blind, the person is going to support the one who goes blind, and another person who has to support the one who supports the blind person. So it has great impact for the family, and its influence in Nigeria. It's generally the condition affects people in poor living condition. Sanitary condition is poor, is high.
Dr. Trust, apologies for interjecting. We're having difficulties hearing you clearly. If you can make do without your earpiece, I mean, that would be fantastic.
Now?
Okay, carry on,
can you hear
Dr.
me?
Trust. Yes, much better.
Okay.
Yes, you are sharing insight regarding the prevalence of trachoma in Nigeria and how this can lead to blindness.
Okay, so like I said earlier, we have about 0.6% to 17.6% prevalence of trachoma. I mean, trichiasis, which is that is caused by trachoma. Active trachoma, we have about 5% to about 45% prevalent in Nigeria. The condition actually comes or spreads because of poor sanitary condition that enables the spread of trachoma, which is a bacterial condition. Just is a simple way, touch. Once there's contact with it, whether someone has used a handkerchief that has the discharge from the eye, the nose, the mouth, because there's a direct connection for connecting those 3 places. So once the eye is infected, if someone gets a fluid from the eye, maybe tears or sputum, that's from spit, or from the nose, that could be infected. And whatever that thing has touched, when somebody else touches that thing and touch their eye, the infection spreads. Okay, its effect is gradual, but can be it can cause excruciating pain. Because the eyelid, you invert the eyelid, or you turn your eyelid upside down, that part, it can make them scarred. Okay, just like you have a scar on your skin, the skin is no longer even, it's rough. And that could begin to rub on the transparent part of the eye, which you call the cornea, and makes it cloudy. And that cloudiness is the part that causes blindness for the individual.
Now let's talk about funding, Dr. Trust. I mean, what funding specifically, how would this funding exactly help Nigeria address this disease of trachoma?
Yes, the funding goes, if we go to the statistics from 2019, we can know that there are about over 62,000 people were helped from surgical intervention, and close to over 9 million people were helped in terms of the supply of antibiotics to help combat the condition. Okay, so that funding, we know currently healthcare is getting more expensive due to economic changes, And that funding will go a long way to help the supply of antibiotics to environments that are already infected, that has high prevalence rates. And also for surgical intervention and for sanitary intervention, provision of clean water and sanitary condition is very important. I think that fund will go a long way to help in these areas, very importantly.
Now,
so once we have proper water supply, we have sanitary conditions improved, we have supply of antibiotics, and when needed, surgical intervention.
Now, let's talk about prevention. You've talked about, the hygienic sanitary environment, surgical intervention, but then prevention now. How can one guard against not contracting trachoma? What are the lifestyle habits one should adopt, in order not to get trachoma?
Okay, the first thing that you have, is simple to do, and it's available to everybody, is hygiene, proper hand washing, and also we have facial cleaning. Wash your face, wash your hands. Those who are in those areas that are predisposed, there's evidence rate of trachoma. Hygiene is a topic. That means wash your hands regularly. If you are a caregiver, you are a mother, you are attending to your baby, make sure you wash your hands properly. And as much as possible, reduce the incidence of hands going to your eye. Okay. Then secondly, we talk about cleanliness in the environment. There's a fly that is actually attracted to the eye and spreads the condition a lot. So if you can reduce things that will bring flies around, it will help a lot. Babies, children between the age of 4 to 6 are more of the reservoir of this condition, and women tend to have higher incidence of this condition because they have temperature. So once you have the environment clean for a child, you are saving both the child and the mother as well.
Because
so
of our
cleanliness in the environment, personal hygiene is a go-to for preventing this condition.
Let me quickly move to treatment options because of our time, and I still have a couple of questions for you. What treatment options are available, and then do they have any side effects?
Okay, there are two areas of intervention, medical intervention. One is antibiotics. So when someone detection is very important. So once it is identified, the person goes on antibiotics. That can help to stop the condition. And very importantly, you have to prevent second reinfection, which causes the condition to complicate. So antibiotic intervention is one medical approach to solving it. And the second one is where the case becomes critical, that causes the eyelid to evert or to turn over. You need surgical intervention to put that or correct that. So those are two, according to WHO standard, those are the two medical interventions that can be put in place. Then talking about effects, I mean, we talked about side effects. The antibiotics are great. They have a duration of work, and it's excellent. It's a specific antibiotic that is prescribed for this purpose. It has been doing a great job. Like you mentioned earlier, success rates in Benin Republic and other places have been recorded with this approach. And I believe it's going to be of a positive impact for Nigeria as well. And it's going to be great. The antibiotics will going to work fine, and then everyone will be.
And that's a fine place to wrap up. Thank you so much for your insight on the news. Dr. Trust Egariva, consultant optometrist. Thank you once again.
You're welcome.
And now back to the conversation on the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road demolition exercise to commence on Saturday. I have my guest joining me live, and that's Kenneth Ikenwa, a social and political analyst. Mr. Kenneth, glad to have you join me this evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, let me start by asking what's the impact of this demolition exercise to commence, regarding in view of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway?
All right, let me go straight and quickly to the point. It's going to have a lot of multidimensional social economic impacts. But let me be a little bit academic by saying that the first impact we're going to be having with the execution of this highway, which is a fallout of what is going to commence on Saturday, is what is known as gentrification. And I say that again, gentrification. And what does that mean? It means that there is usually a displacement of people, a displacement of neighborhood, especially by those that are wealthy or those that are policymakers, with the view of trying to bring up projects that have the claims of having better multiplier effects for the economy, whether in the short term or in the long term. Now, another socio-economic impact is that apart from bringing about gentrification, there will be a great displacement at the rural and urban levels. And that will usually come with a lot of sociological consequences. It will mean that the poverty rates of people who are going to be moved away from their settlements, ancestral settlements, may increase. And some of these people may have to resort to other alternative vices to be able to keep up with their standard of living or to at least survive. Then secondly, we're going to experience a lot of unemployment, most likely in the short term, and underemployment. It will mean that some of the people along these coastal regions who have established businesses most likely will have to lay off their staff or close off their businesses. And those who are certified to work in some kind of businesses like the hospitality businesses and any other kind of business along that corridor would have to go and look for lesser paying jobs and have to downgrade their quality of life. Lastly, we should be expecting an inefficient utilization of the factors of productivity and production nationally. What does that mean? It means that, for instance, some settlements and some areas that go by this coastal region that hitherto were available for productive ventures may have to close down and have to be given up just for a road to pass through. Now, if we look at the cost-benefit analysis of that, the question on our lips should be, is this the first thing that should appear on the scale of preference as a priority for the federal government?
Yes, I was going to chip that in, Mr. Ikenwa. I mean, there's been various criticisms from various quarters, political figures weighing in into this demolition exercise, to commence on Saturday, and some have tagged it as a misplaced priority. What's your response to that?
Well, it's a beautiful idea, no doubt. I mean, it is the way to go. But when you look at the scale of preference, vis-a-vis what is obtainable in Nigeria today, the multiple challenges that we're having in the country today, challenges of insecurity, challenges of food insecurity, child poverty, food poverty, and emotional challenges that people are having even in the country. I do not think that this is the best or first priority that the government should be thinking of expending in the excess of about 10 trillion naira in commitment to. Escalating that commitment at this point in time doesn't come or sit well, it doesn't make economic sense or strategic sense. Now, there are other roads in the country that need government attention. The Sango-Ota Road is there. I was there 2 weeks ago. It is not passable. The Benin-Auchi Express Road is there. There's so many roads in the country that are hotspots for crime, hotbeds for crime, that the government should pay attention to and not carry on with this particular one at this point in time. Given the state of the economy, the stage we're in our economic life cycle, in the stage of recovery, I do not think this expenditure and the strategy with which it's been implemented is in the best interest of the collective of Nigerians.
Now, considering the projected completion time for this project of 8 years, what challenges might arise, from this construction phase? And how do you think the government can better address these challenges or potential delays?
Well, my scholarship in the last 15 years has gone through different areas through different disciplines. And one of the things we have seen in Nigeria today is that as at 2006, there were over 2,000 different abandoned government projects that were contracts that were given out by different governments from the military era into the democratic era. Now, fast forward 18 years in that trajectory, we would expect that that number should have either doubled or tripled. Now, if this project is not seen through with this administration for 8 years, and some are saying it's a project that may even last for 30 years, that will mean that we would have a lot of economic challenges to deal with going into the future. But I think even if this project were to go through, aside from the social economic impacts that I've identified, most particularly that which has to do with gentrification of certain places and certain settlements, I think that the most important failure with respect to this project, or should I call it this challenge with respect to this project, is that the strategy that was employed for implementing this project is not according to best global practice. Now, for a project of this gargantuan size, one would have expected a thorough, total public-private partnership on it, and a particular type, which will have meant that there should have been a bidding process, which is one of the complaints by many people. Nobody knows how transparent that process was. And there should have been a process, a strategy in place that will have led to people taking up the project on their own, building it, operating it for a number of years, and transferring it back to the government. And not the government taking the very, very scarce resources in the excess of 10 trillion naira to commit to this project and expect that it will be done on record time. If the strategy were different, we would have less need to worry. But the strategy of wholesale contracting of the project out with taxpayers' money at this point in time, it begs a lot of questions, given the stage we've found ourselves in our economic life cycle.
Now, in closing, Kenneth, how would you advise governments, in carrying out future projects of national importance or consequences, going forward? How best should they carry out projects like this, particularly when it concerns demolition of properties?
The first thing the government should always do is to have an empathetic frame of mind, an empathetic strategic frame. Engage first and foremost with the people. The second thing the government should do is to ensure that there are good governance mechanisms around the choice of projects and around the execution and implementation of this kind of projects. Like I said initially, one of the major complaints is that the processes around which this project and the contracts were given out are shrouded in some kind of pseudo secrecy, and we don't know what is actually involved. We do not even know the actual amount that is involved. Now, the last thing I would advise the government to do is to get the appropriate eggheads, use the intellectuals in Nigeria, bring them on board and reason along with them and get ideas from them. Now, these ideas can be contesting ideas or competing ideas. It is very important. Most importantly, for projects like this, long-term projects like this, I do not expect the government to be violating global best practices on going wholesale in investing in such projects. The best thing is to look for partners that will take over the project and will have probably a BOT arrangement, a build, operate, and transfer arrangement, and that would be of less burden to the Nigerian people and of less burden to the pocket of the federal government. The last thing I want to tell the government to do and expect government to do is to always check if this is the priority, if this is what we need at this point in time. If you ask me, this is not a priority, and I think the government should please, 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 please return to the status quo.
Thank you so much for your time on the news. Kenneth Ikenwa, social and political analyst. Thank you once again.
Let me also appreciate News Central for taking the lead on this among media houses in bringing the challenges of those that will be on the negative receiving end of this to the Nigerian public. It's a good job and kudos to you. God bless News Central. God bless Nigeria. Shalom Emeka.
Coming up, about 3,000 unskilled Malawian workers to be sent to Israel. We have details after the break. Join us again. Thank you for staying with us. The news continues in West Africa, where Burkina Faso's media regulator has suspended broadcasts from BBC Africa and Voice of America, VOA, over their coverage of a Human Rights Watch report accusing the Burkinabe army of abuses against civilians. Access to the website and digital platforms of the BBC, VOA, and Human Rights Watch have also been suspended within Burkina Faso. Human Rights Watch published a report on Thursday accusing the Burkina Faso military of executing at least 223 civilians on February 25 in the north of the country. The two outlets will be suspended for 2 weeks. The Superior Council for the Communication further warned all local media outlets against covering the Human Rights Watch report, threatening sanctions against those who do so. In Southern Africa, Malawi and Israel have recently signed a deal to send about 3,000 Malawian unskilled laborers to work in farms and industries in Israel. These workers are set to be replacing Palestinian who used to work for Israel before war started between Israel and Palestine. This will not be the first batch to be sent to Israel. In November, the group of Malawians traveled to the Jewish state to start working in the country's agricultural sector. According to the Malawi government, this deal is to help generate more foreign exchange revenue. Moreover, the Israel Builders Association will be visiting Malawi to recruit over 80,000 construction workers. Through this deal in February 2024, about $735,000 was transferred to Malawi. Earlier, independent analyst Mavuto Bamusa joined us to talk about this.
Well, Malawi is taking desperate steps. We can call these desperate measures towards fulfilling some of the promises that government has made towards improving the welfare of young people. So this is coming back on the heels of political promises. It is also coming at a time when the cost of living in Malawi continues to skyrocket. The Malawi economy is suffering some of its worst times, especially after a massively huge 44% devaluation of the local currency, the Malawi kwacha.
In East Africa, South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has sacked Foreign Affairs Minister who had been in office for less than a year. James Morgan, who was appointed last August, was dismissed in the presidential decree read out on state television. Before becoming Foreign Affairs Minister, Morgan was South Sudan's ambassador to Ethiopia. He has now been replaced by his former deputy, Ramdaman Abdalgosh. President Kiir appointed Morgan as his envoy for the Great Lakes region. Kiir also dismissed Mayan Wardot, the long-serving Undersecretary for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and appointed him as South Sudan's new ambassador to China. The United Nations say a year of devastating war in Sudan has driven hundreds of farmers from their once bountiful lands, imperiling harvest and heightening the risk of famine. According to Saleh Abdul Majid, a farmer from Al Jazeera State, many farmers have been displaced with no prospect of returning. But even for those who remained on their land, the challenges are daunting, with some expressing difficulty in farming successfully due to a lack of water and fertilizer. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization's Director for Emergencies and Resilience, Rain Paulson, described it as a race against time with regards to the food security situation in the country. French Minister of Economy, Finance and Industrial and Digital Sovereignty, Bruno Le Maire, is on a two-day visit to Morocco, marking a significant step towards a revitalized economic partnership between the two nations. The trip, the latest in a series of high-level exchanges between Paris and Rabat, highlights a shared commitment to propelling French-Moroccan diplomatic relations into a new era of cooperation. The French minister said his visit focuses on a strong message: decarbonize energy as the cornerstone of a renewed Franco-Moroccan economic relationship. In a speech to students at the Mohammed VI Polytechnic University, Rabat campus, he emphasized the strategic importance of energy independence, drawing parallels between the energy crisis of 1973 and 2020.
Nous voulons ouvrir l'ère d'une nouvelle coopération en matière d'énergie décarbonée entre la France et le Maroc. Ça va concerner l'hydrogène, l'éolien, le solaire. J'ai également fait la proposition d'une coopération dans le domaine nucléaire avec les réacteurs de petite taille ou de moyenne taille, coopération qui restera évidemment à l'appréciation du gouvernement du Royaume du Maroc. Mais vous voyez que nous voulons... Le deuxième grand sujet, c'est évidemment les mobilités, avec le ferroviaire, que ce soit les lignes à grande vitesse ou les lignes classiques. Et la coopération, là aussi, elle doit être dans tous les domaines. Ce n'est pas uniquement fournir des trains. C'est également travailler à la formation, à la qualification.
Les turbulences que nous avons vécues ensemble depuis 3 ans montrent à quel point il est urgent, important de travailler sur des sujets de souveraineté énergétique. La souveraineté, ça ne signifie pas d'être autonome pour tout produire, mais de garantir aux populations, aux industries, des énergies, on va dire, propres, durables. On a également cette belle échéance de la Coupe du Monde 2030 qui est d'abord une fête, une reconnaissance du rôle du Maroc avec les partenaires, on va dire, de la région, mais également...
Still ahead, U.S. Secretary of State says Russia would struggle without China. We have details after the break. Stay with us. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says he raised concerns with China about support for Russia, saying Moscow's invasion of Ukraine depended on Beijing's support. In his words, Russia would struggle to sustain its assault on Ukraine without China's support. Blinken said this while addressing reporters after his meetings with top leaders in Beijing.
China is the top supplier of machine tools, microelectronics, nitrocellulose, which is critical to making munitions and rocket propellants, and other dual-use items that Moscow is using to ramp up its defense industrial base. A defense industrial base that is churning out rockets, drones, tanks, and other weapons that President Putin is using to invade a sovereign country, to demolish its power grid and other civilian infrastructure, to kill innocent children, women, and men. Russia would struggle to sustain its assault.
A UK court on Friday granted conditional bail to 2 men accused of spying for China in a case which has heightened Western concern over claims of aggressive Chinese espionage. British police charged the pair on Monday. On the same day, investigators in Germany arrested 3 German nationals suspected of sharing information on maritime technology with Beijing. Appearing in central London court, 29-year-old Christopher Kashoff, East London, and 32-year-old Christopher Berry of Oxfordshire, Central England, were not required to enter any pleas. He and Berry are both accused of an offence under Britain's Counter-Espionage Official Secrets Act. At a briefing hearing, Magistrate Paul Goldspring ruled both men could be released on conditional bail, with Cash ordered not to contact UK lawmakers or to enter the parliamentary estate. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev has defended his legitimacy as host of COP29, saying having oil and gas deposits is not the country's fault. Speaking in Berlin on the last day of the Petersburg Climate Dialogue, Aliyev says his country's oil and gas will be needed for many more years. Azerbaijan will host COP29 in November, with a former oil executive serving as conference president. Former British Council Director in Nigeria, David Roberts, has urged Nigeria to reject the recent International Monetary Fund report, which projected a drop in the country's ranking from the 1st to the 4th largest economy in Africa this year. Roberts emphasized the importance of relying on locally gathered data, suggesting it's likely to be more accurate than information from foreign agencies. Dr. Muda Yusuf, CEO of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, shared insight on improving the GDP concerning the welfare of Nigerians during a guest appearance on the Business Edge show.
Productivity is low, and productivity has a very strong relationship with the quality of your infrastructure. We need to look at our industrialization. It's very difficult to industrialize, to ramp up production if you don't have supporting infrastructure, especially power and logistics. Those things are very important. Then you also need to focus more on building an economy that is inclusive, because increasingly we are seeing a widening of gap between the rich and the poor. Inequality is becoming a major issue. You know, the level of poverty is increasing. I mean, we have seen that in the past, when we had very good performance on account of GDP, and the people are getting poorer. We are having more unemployment. So we need to address, some of these policy issues, but more.
The male Southeast basketball competition has kicked off in Umuahia, Abia State, with the host team, Abia Stars, defeating the Anambra State team. The competition commenced after the opening ceremony by the Commissioner for Sport, Nwobilo Ananaba, at the Indoor Sports Hall of Umuahia Township Stadium. Our correspondent, Chiwu Gele, has details.
It was a terrific display of skills and weight by both teams in the opening match in Umuahia. The opening game between Abia and Anambra State had the host team dominate the game in all the periods.
The thing of joy that our team won, we are saying thank you to the state and also the coaches for making us have a victory like this, and we thank the state government for also having a good impact of this win.
The winners of this competition will represent the zone at the national level. The 5 states of the zone, which include Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo states, will participate in the competition. Abia State Commissioner for Sports and Director of Sports, Mubilo Ananaba and Obioma George, respectively, said the state government takes sports development seriously, adding that some of the players were discovered during the recently concluded sports festival in the state.
Revitalizing sports in Abia State is about making sports, Abia State, sports destination in future. So this is the build-up. This is not the only competition we're doing. We want to start from here, make sure that things are happening in Abia State in terms of sports. We also make sure that we train this athlete to make sure that when they go to the president of Abia State, they will bring roros and also bring money.
In Abia, from the grassroots, we were able to harness them, and today, all the grassroots basketballers we've selected are today representing Abia State in this ongoing Southeast Basketball Championship.
To become global champions, the state's chairman of Basketball Association, Okoro Victor, advised the young players to ensure they utilize the opportunity before them to develop themselves.
People in the country do not believe that Abia has this kind of ring, and we have players all over the country. We are going to make sure we bring them back, because what the governor is doing is going to be sustainable, for us to be able to, grow our own players and then take them to where they're supposed to be from Abia State.
They should use this competition to showcase their basketball skills so that they can join the national camp.
The tournament is expected to last till Saturday, when the final game will be played. In Umuahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Former Zambia captain Refund Calabar has been discharged from hospital after being critically injured in a road accident earlier this month. The former TP Mazembe of Congo and Zesco United of Zambia midfielder was a passenger in the Mercedes-Benz that collided head-on with a truck in a distressing incident initially feared to have claimed his life. Calabar played a pivotal role in Zambia's historic triumph at the African Cup of Nations in 2012, where they clinched their maiden title by defeating Ivory Coast in a thrilling final that culminated in a dramatic penalty shootout. Brazil women's football legend Marta says she will retire from international football this year. The 38-year-old striker is Brazil's all-time record goal scorer in international football with 123 goals in 196 appearances. She won Olympic silver at Athens 2004 and Beijing 2008, losing to United States on both occasions. Martha is the all-time leading goal scorer in World Cups, men's and women's, scoring 17 times in 23 appearances across 6 editions of the tournament, and she could make her 6th appearance at the Olympic Games if she's selected for Brazil's squad this summer in Paris. And that's all on the news. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Abuja American School has written EFCC to refund Yahaya Bello's $760,000 children's school fees. 11 workers have been trapped in Kano building collapse. We also told you that South Sudan's Foreign Affairs Minister has been sacked. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adeduba.